Okay, so Jaguars and Texans played last night. Texans traveling to Jacksonville on a 10-game losing streak, and Jacksonville actually played pretty well. Their last home win was in November of last year, so they thought it was pretty critical that they get a home win last night. Started out pretty well for the Jaguars. Chad Henne leading his offense on two first half touchdown drives, and then a field goal drive later in the second quarter. Wound up 17-0 on the Texans. Texans would end the first half with a touchdown of their own, Case Keenum to Keyshawn Martin. So both teams went to half. Jaguars up 17-7. Texans 10 penalties in the first half for 115 yards. Most of them on the defensive side of the ball. They got tangled up in a few piles. They really weren't focused emotionally, and it showed up on the stat sheet. In the second half, the Texans benched Case Keenum and put Matt Schaub back in. And on his very first drive, he took him down, wound up kicking a field goal, make it 17-10. And then the Jaguars, on their next drive, worked it down the field, a couple of runs from Reese Jones-Drew, and ended the drive with a option pass from Ace Sanders to backup running back Jordan Todman. Jaguars went up 24-10. Matt Schaub would come back on the next drive and lead him down into the red zone. We find Garrett Graham for a touchdown to make it 24-17. Jacksonville would then get the football back and kick a field goal to make it 24-17, and then the Texans would end the scoring with the field goal of their own, make it 27-20. Jaguars now four wins out of the last 5 games. Texans on a 10-game losing streak. Pretty good game by Jacksonville last night. Offense played pretty well. Defense was not great, but they made a few good plays and they were able to keep the Texans from moving the ball. Texans on offense struggled all night, couldn't pick up third downs. The offensive line struggled protecting Keenum, and they opened up almost no running lanes for Ben Tate. Texas defensively had an okay game. J.J. Watt got in on a few plays, and they made a few stops on defense, but the offense just couldn't capitalize. The Texans actually pinned the Jaguars inside the 10 a couple times, and both times the Jaguars were able to get out of it and at least punt from a relatively safe position. Texans today fired Gary Kubiak, big news out of Houston. 2 straight playoff appearances for this year. Everybody thought the Texans had found their groove. Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson getting it done. Then J.J. Watt on defense. And then this year's collapse. Texans started out 2-0. They lost 5 straight. Matt Schaub throwing 6 pick sixes in that time span. Got benched. Case Keenum came in, did all right, but he has struggled mightily against pressure. Texans benched him last night and went back to Matt Schaub, who had a few good drives but was ultimately unable to get the job done. Texans, they just had a hard time all year. Arian Foster went on IR about 3 weeks ago. Andre Johnson has continued to perform, but as it's been since Andre Johnson came there, he has had no help from the second and third receivers. Teams are locking on to him and forcing the Texans quarterbacks through the other receivers, and those other receivers, Keyshawn Martin, DeAndre Hopkins, just aren't performing. This goes as far back as 2004 and 05 when he had Devereaux Frazier, and then 08 and 09 when he had Jacoby Jones. Texans, and they lost Ola Daniels, now stretching 4 or 5 weeks, and despite Garrett Graham's improved play, Texan quarterbacks just have not found any type of rhythm, and they haven't gotten much help from the offensive line. Jaguars, on the other hand, they're still losing and look and right now on the track for a top 10 pick in next year's draft. But you have to say the Jaguars have definitely improved the play of their offense and defense over the past few weeks, and their usage of Ace Sanders has been very, very intriguing, getting him in running plays, receiving plays, and then an option pass last night. That offensive weapon was supposed to be Denard Robinson, drafted in the 5th round out of Michigan, but Denard Robinson has not developed as that multi-threat guy, and Ace Sanders has actually become that star player that they were hoping he might be, in the mode of a Dexter McCluster, Darren Sproles type. We see that around the league where teams are finding guys that they can use a little bit everywhere on the field. The Vikings have Devereaux Patterson, the Chargers have Danny Woodhead. So it's definitely impressive to see the Jaguars coaches using their players and getting them in situations where they can perform. Just a discouraging effort by the Texans last night. Very encouraging for the Jaguars. And although they look to probably take another quarterback next year, they do have a pretty good group of guys to work around. They still have Maurice Jones-Drew. Justin Blackmon will be coming back next year after his suspension earlier last month. They still have Cecil Shorts, and once again, Ace Sanders is definitely a guy they can work around. Texans, they have some major problems that they're going to have to fix in the draft. Quarterback, more than likely. Receivers, they might want to consider a receiver outside of Andre Johnson. Might want to look at running back, see how Arian Foster comes off his injury. Offensive line might be a question. The tackle play has been almost horrendous past few weeks. Dwayne Brown isn't playing at the high level he used to. That might be a concern. Defensively, they've got to get more pass rush. J.J. Watt is a beast at defensive end, outside linebacker, but he's only one guy, and you can't rely on him to do absolutely everything. So I think it is paramount for them that they find themselves another pass rusher outside of him. Whitney Merciless had 6.5 sacks last year, and we hoped that he might be able to come into that role outside of J.J. Watt, but hasn't played very well. Brooks Reed hasn't provided much pass rush, and overall the Texan defense has underperformed. The secondary has been atrocious at times. The linebackers haven't been really competitive, stopping defenses. It's just been really, really rough for the Texans offensively and defensively over the entire year. Both teams have a lot to work on, but the Jaguars are definitely getting there in terms of competing. Coaching though for the Texans, that's going to be a huge question. We're assuming that Wade Phillips will be the interim head coach throughout the rest of the year, but we're not really sure. It's still early, and this is still a new development. So we're going to have to watch for this one and see where this one goes. Again, Texans losing 27-20 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And outside of that, that looks to be it in terms of NFL news, although there's one more note that Aaron Rodgers has been ruled out for this week. So, will not be any Aaron Rodgers. Matt Flynn will be the starting quarterback for Week 14. Carson Palmer, he got an elbow injury. He will be a game-time decision. So, definitely be interesting to keep an eye on Carson Palmer, see how this injury goes. Christian Ponder has a concussion. He will not play this Sunday at Baltimore. Matt Castle make his first career start at Baltimore this week. Percy Harvin and Brandon Browner will not be on the field for Sunday's pivotal game against the 49ers. Harvin with the hip and then Browner with the groin. The Chiefs will not have Justin Houston with an elbow, Fasano with a concussion and a knee, and then Brandon Albert, offensive tackle. They will not be able to play again this week against the Redskins, according to Andy Reid. And Devereaux Frazier of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is probable. So that's going to be an interesting game to see how he performs against one of his former division rivals. Browns quarterback Jason Campbell has been cleared to play the Patriots this week after the concussion he suffered last week. Josh Gordon, back-to-back 200-yard games. He had a very nice rapport with Jason Campbell, so it'll be interesting to see how they attack the Patriot defense. But again, Jason Campbell is active for Sunday's game against the Patriots. Ravens pass rusher Elvis Zimmerville is doubtful for the Vikings game with an ankle injury. That is going to be very key, stopping Adrian Peterson, and also pass rushing Vikings quarterback Matt Castle. And Julius Thomas is probable with a knee injury. This week, the Broncos going up against the Titans. And Reggie Bush is questionable for this week's game against the Eagles. Again, major notes. But Jason Campbell cleared to play. And Julius Thomas is questionable. And Revis is probable. Justin Houston will not play. Again, that's injury news. Recap of last night's game. I'm Devereaux Frazier. And I should be with you guys sometime Sunday night, Monday morning, or Monday night for recaps of Sunday's games and then preview of Monday night's game. Cowboys and Bears. Again, this Monday night, Cowboys and Bears. Going to be a big game. Devereaux Frazier, I'm out.